My son drove me into the forest and left without looking back.
They told me it would be good for me. Fresh air, my son said. A change of scenery, my daughter-in-law added, smiling the way people smile when they've already decided something for you. At my age, people no longer ask what you want. They tell you what you need. I was 84 that spring. My knees hurt in the mornings, my hands shook when I held a cup for too long, but my mind was still sharp, sharper than they believed. They helped me into the car gently, too gently. My son fastened my seatbelt himself, something he hadn't done in years. His hands lingered for a second longer than necessary. That should have warned me. The road out of town felt longer than usual. We passed familiar houses, then fewer shops, then trees, more trees than I remembered. The kind that swallow sound. I asked where we were going. Just for a walk, my son said, eyes fixed on the road. There's a quiet place, you'll like it. I watched his reflection in the rearview mirror. He didn't look at me when he spoke. My daughter-in-law turned the radio up slightly, as if silence might give something away. The road narrowed. Pavement turned rough, then dirt. That was when I noticed my phone wasn't in my pocket. I reached for my coat, empty. I think I left my phone at home, I said. They exchanged a glance, quick, practiced. It's better without it, she said. Too much noise anyway. Noise, the forest closed in around us, tall trees, thick shadows, the kind of place where even daylight feels hesitant. We stopped near a small clearing. No signs, no benches, no other cars. This is it, my son said, already opening his door. He helped me out, steadying my arm. His touch felt unfamiliar. Careful, like someone handling something fragile they didn't want to break in the wrong way. Just sit here for a bit, he said. We'll walk around and come back. I nodded. Old women nod a lot. It makes life easier. I sat on a fallen log while they walked away. I could hear their footsteps at first, then only the wind, then nothing. Minutes passed. I waited. More minutes. The forest does something to time. It stretches it. Twists it. I stood up slowly and looked around. No voices, no footsteps, no sound of a car starting, only birds far away. That was when I understood, not with panic, with clarity. They were not coming back. I didn't shout. I didn't run. I sat back down. When you've lived long enough, you learn the difference between accidents and decisions. This was a decision. My own son had driven me into the forest, smiled at me, and left me there to disappear quietly. I looked at the path they had taken, already hard to see. The forest was good at erasing signs. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and took a slow breath. They thought I was weak. They thought I would wander, get lost, lie down, and never stand up again. They forgot something. Before I was old, before I was a burden. Before I was someone to get rid of, I had survived worse places than this. And the forest had made its first mistake. It underestimated me. I stayed where they left me longer than I should have. Not because I was waiting for them, because I needed to be certain. Hope is dangerous in the forest. It makes you sit still when you should move. The light shifted slowly, sliding through the trees like something trying to escape. I watched the shadows stretch across the ground, learning the shape of the place I had been abandoned in. This wasn't a walking trail, no signs, no worn path. They had chosen it carefully. I stood up and tested my balance. My knees protested, but they held. Pain, at my age, was just another voice in the room. You acknowledge it, then you decide whether to listen. I walked to where the car had been parked. The earth was disturbed. Tire tracks were still visible, pressed deep into the soft ground. I followed them with my eyes. They went in one direction, only one. That was important. People who intend to return leave two sets of tracks. I bent down slowly and touched the soil. Damp, recent, not covered by leaves yet. They had left less than half an hour ago. Plenty of time to change their minds. They didn't. The forest swallowed sound differently as the day grew older. Distant birds quieted. Insects grew louder. The air cooled. I checked my pockets again, even though I knew the answer. No phone, no watch, no water, only my cane and my coat. I laughed softly at that. People imagine survival as something dramatic. Running, fighting, shouting, it's not. It's math, distance, light, direction. I looked up. The sun was still visible through the branches, low but steady. If I moved toward it, I would be walking west. Roads follow direction. So do people. I chose to walk. Not fast, not far, just enough to stay alive. Each step was careful. I pressed my cane into the ground before shifting my weight. Leaves hid holes. Roots waited to trip you. I did not let the forest rush me. As I walked, memories surfaced, not emotional ones, practical ones. How my father taught me to find direction by moss on trees. How to listen for water, how to rest without sleeping too long. Old knowledge does not disappear, it waits. I stopped when my breath shortened, sat on a rock, listened. No cars, no voices. Only wind moving through branches like quiet breathing. I thought about my son then. Not with anger, with distance. I wondered when he decided this, when my presence became a problem instead of a responsibility. I wondered if he was thinking about me at all. The sun dipped lower. I stood again. Night would come whether I was ready or not. And I had learned something important. They hadn't just left me in the forest. They had left me without witnesses, which meant whatever happened next, no one would be able to say it was an accident. The forest is not the same place at night. During the day, it pretends to be still. At night, it breathes. I knew I had waited too long when the light began to thin. The sky above the trees faded from pale blue to something heavier, darker. Shadows stopped stretching and started closing in. I needed shelter, not comfort. Not safety, just a place where the ground was dry and the wind could be slowed. I found it near a cluster of rocks where the trees leaned close together. The space between them felt intentional, like the forest had left a gap and dared someone to use it. I sat down carefully, my back against stone. The cold seeped through my coat almost immediately. Cold is patient. It doesn't attack, it waits. I pulled my coat tighter and tucked my hands inside my sleeves. Movement creates warmth. Stillness preserves it. The first sound came after sunset. A snap. Not a branch falling. A step. I held my breath. Old instincts woke up then, the kind that live deeper than fear. I listened not for what I wanted to hear, but for what was actually there. Another sound, then silence again. Animals test first. They want to know if you're alive. I picked up a small stone and held it in my hand, not as a weapon, as proof that I still could. The forest spoke in layers, wind above, movement below. Somewhere farther away, a low sound that wasn't quite a howl. I didn't move. Fear burns energy you cannot replace. I thought about my daughter-in-law, about the way she smiled that morning, the way she avoided my eyes when the car stopped. Some smiles are apologies, others are exits. The night grew colder, my joints stiffened. My breath fogged the air in front of me. I shifted only when I had to, slowly, deliberately. Time lost meaning. Minutes felt long. Hours felt shallow. Then I heard something else. Water, not close, but not far. Running water carries life, and roads often follow it. When the sounds around me softened again, I stood. Every movement hurt. That was good. Pain tells you're still here. I followed the sound carefully, tapping my cane before each step. The ground sloped downward, and I used that to my advantage. The stream appeared suddenly, narrow and fast. Moonlight reflected off it in broken pieces. I knelt and dipped my fingers into the water. Cold, clean, I drank slowly, too fast and the body rebels. As I stood, I felt it again. That pressure, not from the forest, from myself. I was not lost. I was delayed. And there is a difference. The forest hadn't beaten me. It was waiting to see if I would beat myself. I straightened my back, listened once more to the night, and chose my next direction. Because survival isn't about finding your way out. It's about deciding not to disappear where someone left you. Morning did not arrive gently. It crept in low, gray, and uncertain, as if the forest itself wasn't sure I deserved another day. I woke before the light fully settled. My body ached in places I hadn't known could ache. The ground had stolen what little warmth I'd managed to keep through the night, and my fingers were stiff, slow to obey me. But I was alive. That mattered more than comfort. I sat still for a moment, listening. Morning sounds are different. Birds return cautiously. The forest stretches, testing itself. Whatever had moved in the night had gone quiet. That meant I had a chance. I stood slowly, waiting for the dizziness to pass. Hunger sat heavy in my stomach, but hunger is manageable. Fear is not. I pushed fear aside and focused on what I could control. Direction, distance, energy. The stream was still there, moving steadily, unconcerned with my situation. I followed it upstream. Water leads somewhere, even if it takes longer than you want. As I walked, memories surfaced again, not of my son. Not yet, of myself, of being younger, of walking long distances because there was no other choice, of learning to rest without stopping, to move without wasting effort. Age takes strength, but it gives patience in return. After an hour, maybe two, I heard something that didn't belong to the forest. A dull hum, not wind, not water, engines, far away but real. My heart quickened. I stopped and listened again, afraid it might vanish if I acknowledged it too soon. There it was, a road. I didn't rush toward it. Rushing is how you fall. I followed the sound carefully, staying near the trees, using them as cover. Then I saw it. A narrow strip of asphalt cutting through the green like a scar. I stepped out onto the edge of it and felt something strange. Anger, not explosive, not loud, focused. They hadn't just left me to die, they had assumed I would. I looked down the road in both directions. No cars, no people, just silence again, but a different kind now. This silence meant possibility. I walked along the shoulder, keeping my steps measured. My legs trembled, but they carried me. Every few minutes I stopped, leaned on my cane and breathed. That was when I saw the shoe. A child's sneaker, half buried in dirt on the roadside. Then another. A piece of fabric caught on a branch. This place wasn't empty. People had passed through. People had struggled here too. The forest had taken more than just me. I realized then that my survival was no longer only about me. If I disappeared, my story would disappear with me. And I refused to let that happen. By late morning, the sound of engines grew louder, closer. I stepped farther onto the road and raised my arm, not dramatically, not desperately, just enough to be seen. A car slowed, then another. The first one didn't stop. The second did. The driver rolled down the window, eyes wide, already forming questions. "Are you all right?" he asked. I nodded. "I was taken for a walk," I said calmly. And for the first time since they left me behind, the forest released me. But I knew something they didn't. Walking out was only the beginning. What comes next is remembering, and I was very good at that. The man who stopped his car didn't ask many questions. That, too, saved me. He gave me water, let me sit. Wrapped a blanket around my shoulders like it was the most natural thing in the world to find an old woman standing alone on the side of a forest road. He drove me to the nearest town. Not home. That mattered. Hospitals ask questions. Police write things down. And I wasn't ready to be written down yet. In the town cafe, I sat near the window while he spoke to someone behind the counter. They watched me carefully, the way people watch something fragile they don't want to break with curiosity. I told them I had gotten lost. Nothing more. Lost is a word people accept. Abandoned invites consequences. They called a local volunteer service that helped the elderly. I gave them my name, my real one. No one checked yet. No one questioned it. Systems are slow, people are not. While they made phone calls, I watched the street outside. Cars passed, couples walked. Children laughed too loudly. Life moved forward as if nothing had happened. That was when I understood the danger. My son and his wife believed I was still in the forest, or worse. They believed the forest had finished the job for them, which meant they would act accordingly. Papers would be signed, rooms cleared, decisions made in my absence. I couldn't let them hear about me from someone else. I had to choose when I reappeared. They took me to a small community center for the night. Clean, warm, quiet. I slept on a narrow bed with a blanket that smelled like detergent and something hopeful. In the morning, I borrowed a phone. I didn't call my son. I called my neighbor. The one who still waved at me from her balcony every morning. She answered on the first ring. When she heard my voice, she went silent. Then she cried. Then she said the words I expected. They told us you went missing. Missing, not worried, not searching, missing. I asked her what else they said. She hesitated, then told me the truth. They said your memory was getting worse, that you wandered off. I closed my eyes. That story had been prepared long before the forest. I asked her one more thing. Did they look for me? Another pause. No, she said quietly. They said it was too dangerous. Dangerous, for whom? I thanked her and ended the call. That morning, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror, dirt under my nails, lines on my face deeper than before, eyes clearer than they had been in years. I was not going home yet. Going home meant stepping into their version of events. I needed time. Time to let them believe what they wanted. Time to decide what I would do with the truth. Because surviving the forest had changed something. They no longer knew where I was. And for the first time in a very long time, I knew exactly where they stood. I didn't return home. That was the first move they didn't expect. Old women are supposed to go back to familiar places, familiar beds, familiar mistakes. I chose none of that. Instead, I stayed where no one would think to look for me. The community center arranged a temporary room in a small boarding house nearby. Nothing special. Just clean sheets, a lock on the door, and time. Time is the most dangerous thing you can give someone who is thinking. From there, I listened. People talk more freely when they believe you're gone. My neighbor called me the next day. She apologized for bothering me again, then told me something she thought I deserved to know. They're already sorting your things, she said. Your son came yesterday with boxes. Boxes. You don't bring boxes when you're hoping someone will come back. I asked her what they were saying. She lowered her voice. They told everyone the forest confused you, that you'd been getting worse, that they tried their best. Tried, the word sat wrong in my chest. They had tried nothing. That evening I heard more, another neighbor, then another. Stories travel faster than truth when truth isn't present to correct them. They said I wandered. They said I refused help. They said they were devastated. They said everything except what mattered. They left me there. I imagined my son standing in my apartment, touching my things like they no longer belonged to me, choosing what to keep, what to throw away, what to explain later. I wondered if his hands shook. I wondered if he slept. I didn't hate him. That surprised me. What I felt instead was something colder and clearer. Distance. I realized then that the forest hadn't been the end of my place in that family. It had been the proof that my place had already been taken. That night, I wrote everything down, not emotionally, factually, dates, words. Who said what? When? Old women remember details people assume we forget. The next morning, I made a decision. I would not confront them yet. I would let them finish telling their story. Because the longer someone speaks without interruption, the harder it is to stop them later. And when the time came for me to step back into their world, I would not come as a confused mother who survived by accident. I would come as a witness. And witnesses don't need to shout. They only need to arrive. I learned the full version of their story by accident. That's how lies usually reveal themselves. I was sitting in the small common room of the boarding house when the television caught my attention. Local news, nothing important, weather, road closures. Then a familiar street appeared on the screen. My street. The reporter stood near my building, speaking gently, sympathetically. An elderly woman has been reported missing after wandering into a wooded area with family members, she said. Authorities believe confusion related to age may have played a role. Family members, plural, they showed a photo. An old one, carefully chosen, one where I looked smaller, frailer. Then my son appeared on screen. He looked tired, concerned. His voice shook in all the right places. We tried to help her, he said, but she didn't want to listen. She insisted on walking. We turned our backs for just a moment, just a moment. I felt something tighten in my chest then, not pain, recognition. This wasn't panic anymore. This was preparation. They had already rehearsed. The reporter asked about search efforts. My daughter-in-law answered this time. Her words were careful, polished. The forest is dangerous, she said. We didn't want anyone else hurt. There it was again, dangerous. Always an excuse that sounds like concern. The segment ended with a phone number for tips, a number I would not call. I turned off the television and sat very still. They weren't waiting for me to return. They were moving on without me. Missing is temporary, dead is convenient. I understood then what their next step would be. Time, they would wait, let days pass, let sympathy fade into acceptance. And then they would say the word out loud, gone. That afternoon, I walked through town carefully, wearing a hat pulled low. I passed a bulletin board near the market. My face was there, printed, labeled, missing, under it a description that made my hands curl into fists. Confused, vulnerable, may not recognize surroundings. They had erased my mind before erasing my body. I took the paper down. No one stopped me. I folded it neatly and put it in my bag. That paper was proof. Not that I was lost, that they had already decided who I was allowed to be. That evening, I called the volunteer service again. I told them I had family but was not ready to contact them. I told them I felt safer staying where I was. They agreed. People respect calm certainty more than emotion. As night fell, I made my choice. I would not rush back. I would let the search become quiet. Because quiet is when people reveal what they truly believe has ended. And when I returned, it would not be as a missing woman found by chance. It would be as someone who had been left behind. On purpose, I stopped thinking about going home. Home was no longer a place. It was a story they controlled. If I walked back into it unprepared, I would become exactly what they said I was: confused, fragile, rescued by luck. So I stayed invisible. And I started collecting proof, not the kind people expect. No dramatic recordings, no secret confrontations, just facts. Small, solid things that don't argue, don't raise their voice, and don't forget. I went back to the community center and asked for help replacing my documents. Calmly, clearly. I told them I had been displaced temporarily. I did not mention my family. The woman behind the desk looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. She believed me. Belief is built on consistency. I requested copies of my medical records from the last year, every appointment, every test, every note that described my mental state. There it was in black and white. Alert, oriented, independent. Not confused, not wandering. I asked for a written statement. They gave it to me. I thanked them and placed it in my folder. Next, I visited the town library and used a public computer. Slowly, carefully, I searched local records, news archives, and community postings. My disappearance had been framed gently but consistently, always the same words, always the same tone, never urgency. That mattered. People who lose someone don't speak like that. I printed the articles, folded them, added them to my folder. Then I did something harder. I wrote my own account, not emotional, not angry, just the sequence, the drive, the stop, the way the car doors closed, the sound of the engine leaving, details age does not erase. I signed it, dated it, asked the center's coordinator to witness it. She did. She didn't ask why. By then, she knew better than to assume old age meant weakness. That night, I sat alone and looked at everything I had gathered. It wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. And mirrors don't accuse, they show. I realized something then. When I returned, the most powerful thing I could do was not confront them. It was to exist, calmly, clearly, in front of others, letting their story collapse under the weight of my presence, because lies need isolation to survive. And I was done being isolated. I closed my folder and rested my hands on top of it. Tomorrow, I would decide where and how I would reappear, not as a victim, as a woman who had walked out of a forest someone else chose for her, and came back with her voice intact. I stopped thinking about going home. Home was no longer a place. It was a story they controlled. If I walked back into it unprepared, I would become exactly what they said I was: confused, fragile, rescued by luck. So I stayed invisible, and I started collecting proof, not the kind people expect. No dramatic recordings, no secret confrontations, just facts. Small, solid things that don't argue, don't raise their voice, and don't forget. I went back to the community center and asked for help replacing my documents. Calmly. Clearly, I told them I had been displaced temporarily. I did not mention my family. The woman behind the desk looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. She believed me. Belief is built on consistency. I requested copies of my medical records from the last year, every appointment, every test, every note that described my mental state. There it was in black and white. Alert, oriented, independent. Not confused, not wandering. I asked for a written statement. They gave it to me. I thanked them and placed it in my folder. Next, I visited the town library and used a public computer. Slowly, carefully, I searched local records, news archives, and community postings. My disappearance had been framed gently but consistently, always the same words, always the same tone, never urgency. That mattered. People who lose someone don't speak like that. I printed the articles, folded them, added them to my folder. Then I did something harder. I wrote my own account, not emotional, not angry, just the sequence, the drive, the stop, the way the car doors closed, the sound of the engine leaving, details age does not erase. I signed it, dated it, asked the center's coordinator to witness it. She did. She didn't ask why. By then, she knew better than to assume old age meant weakness. That night, I sat alone and looked at everything I had gathered. It wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. And mirrors don't accuse, they show. I realized something then. When I returned, the most powerful thing I could do was not confront them. It was to exist, calmly, clearly, in front of others, letting their story collapse under the weight of my presence, because lies need isolation to survive. And I was done being isolated. I closed my folder and rested my hands on top of it. Tomorrow, I would decide where and how I would reappear, not as a victim, as a woman who had walked out of a forest someone else chose for her, and came back with her voice intact. My son came the next morning. He didn't call first. That told me everything. People who plan conversations call ahead. People who fear them show up unannounced, hoping urgency will replace preparation. I was sitting at the kitchen table when the knock came. My neighbor looked at me, asking with her eyes if she should answer. "I will," I said. I opened the door slowly. He stood there holding a bag of groceries, as if routine could soften what he had done. His hair was uncombed. His eyes avoided mine, then returned, then fled again. "Mother," he said quietly. I stepped aside and let him in. He placed the bag on the table, arranging the items one by one, buying himself time. Milk, bread, fruit I hadn't eaten in years. "I was worried," he said. I sat down. "You weren't," I replied. "You were waiting." He flinched. He sat across from me, hands folded too tightly. He looked older than I remembered, not from age, from pressure. "She said you wandered off," he began, "that you wouldn't listen. That she turned around for just a second." I raised my hand. "Stop," I said. He stopped. Silence filled the room, not awkward, final. "I didn't wander," I continued. "You drove me there. You chose the place. You closed the door. You left." His mouth opened, then closed again. "I thought," he started. "You thought I wouldn't come back," I finished. He nodded once. That was his confession, not loud, not dramatic, enough. I leaned back in my chair and looked at him the way I used to when he was a boy and had broken something precious. Waiting for him to explain himself. He didn't, because there is no explanation that survives daylight. "You know, people saw me yesterday," I said. "At the clinic, at the store." He swallowed. "Yes, they are talking." Another nod. "The police haven't come yet," I continued calmly. "Do you know why?" He shook his head. "Because I haven't asked them to." That was when his eyes finally met mine. Fear lives there when control leaves. "I won't destroy you," I said. "Not today, not publicly." He exhaled sharply. "But this story will not belong to you anymore," I added. "You don't get to explain it away." He whispered my name. I stood up. "When you left me in the forest," I said, "you decided I was already gone." I walked to the door and opened it. "You don't get to decide that twice." He stood slowly, as if his body had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. At the door he turned. "What do you want?" he asked. I thought about that. "I want you to remember," I said. "Every day." He nodded. Then he left. When the door closed behind him, I felt no victory, only certainty. He would carry this longer than any punishment I could give, and tomorrow others would come. Questions would be asked. Stories would collide. Because silence, once broken, does not heal, it exposes. The police did not come first. That surprised my son. It did not surprise me. Authority moves slowly. People do not. The first to arrive were relatives. An aunt I hadn't seen in years. A cousin who suddenly remembered my birthday. They came with concern on their faces and questions ready on their tongues. I answered none of them directly. I didn't need to. My presence did the talking. Every time someone asked, "What happened?" and I replied calmly, "They left me in the forest," the room changed. Not because of the words, because of the tone. Confused people sound unsure. Victims sound shaken. I sounded certain. Certainty is contagious. By the afternoon, neighbors gathered in small groups outside the building, not gossiping loudly, speaking in lowered voices, glancing up at my window. The same window they had watched for weeks, believing it would never light up again. Someone had brought up the news report. Someone else mentioned the missing posters. Someone asked the question no one wanted to ask out loud. If she didn't wander, then why was she there? That question traveled faster than any accusation. My daughter-in-law didn't come. That told everyone more than her presence ever could. Instead, a message arrived from her sister asking if we could talk privately. Privately is where lies breathe. I declined. That evening, 2 police officers knocked. They were respectful and careful. One of them kept looking at me as if trying to reconcile what he saw with what he had been told. I gave my statement. Once, I did not embellish it. I did not soften it. I told them where the car stopped. What was said. What was not said, how long I waited, how the sound of the engine disappeared. I told them about the phone I didn't have. I told them about the walk back. I handed them the medical records, the written statement, the witnesses. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I thought about the forest, about the cold ground, about the long night where no one came. I want it recorded, I said. Truthfully, they nodded. That was enough. When they left, the building felt different, heavier. As if the walls themselves were adjusting to a story they could no longer avoid. Later that night, my son called. I did not answer. He called again. I let it ring. Some conversations are finished before they begin. By morning, the story had changed, not officially, but socially. People no longer said missing. They said left. They no longer said confused. They said abandoned. Words matter. They shape memory, and memory is where judgment lives. I sat by the window and watched a woman help her elderly mother across the street. Slowly, carefully. With patience. I wondered if my son saw the same thing somewhere else. I wondered if he understood now what he had traded convenience for. The truth had reached others. It didn't need to reach everyone, just enough. Because once a community knows, silence becomes impossible. And tomorrow, I would decide the last thing, not what they deserved, but what I would carry forward. The days after the truth settled were strangely calm, not peaceful, just still. The kind of stillness that follows a storm when everyone is counting what remains. I stayed in my apartment again, but it no longer felt like home. Not because of what had happened, but because I had changed inside it. Rooms remember things, so do walls. My son did not come back. That was his choice. My daughter-in-law left town for a while. People said it was to clear her head. I understood what that meant. Places remember too. The police finished their report quietly. No handcuffs, no sirens, no courtroom scenes, just words placed into records that cannot be erased. Abandonment, endangerment, intent. Those words will follow them longer than punishment ever could. People began treating me differently, not with pity, with care. Neighbors checked in. Shopkeepers asked if I needed help carrying things. Someone repaired the loose step at the building entrance without being asked. Kindness returned in small, deliberate acts. It reminded me of something I had almost forgotten. Most people are not cruel, they are quiet. And quiet can be dangerous in the wrong hands. I thought about leaving, starting somewhere new where no one knew my story. But I decided to stay, not for them, for myself. Leaving the forest had taught me that survival is not just about getting away. It is about standing where you were pushed from and refusing to vanish. One afternoon, I went back to the edge of the woods. Not deep inside, just far enough to see the trees. I stood there for a long time. The forest did not apologize. It didn't need to. It had only done what forests do. People make choices. I turned and walked away on my own terms. At night, I sometimes think about the moment the car drove off. The sound of the engine fading. The silence that followed. That silence tried to erase me. It failed. I am still here. Not because I was lucky, not because someone saved me, because I chose not to disappear. And that choice is the one thing no one can ever take from me again.